8th grade. This is your review 5.5 to 5.7 for the quiz over those sections. Let me first give you some of the answers so that rather than take up a lot of time for the 5.5 homework. 5.5 homework number 2 is a squared plus 24 squared equals 26 squared, and the answer is 10 inches. Number 4 is a squared plus 14 squared equals 28 squared, and the answer is 24.2 yards. Number 6 is 45 squared plus 64 squared equals c squared, and c is 78.2 meters. Number 8 is 16 squared plus 22 squared equals c squared, so c equals 27.2 yards. Number 10 is 7 squared plus 24 squared equals 625, which equals 25 squared. So yes, it is a right triangle. I will come back to that one and work it with you. Number 12 is about 18 meters. I will also come back to that one and work it as part of our review. Then in lesson 5.6, the answer to number 2 is 1.5 squared plus 2 squared equals w squared, and w equals 2.5 feet. Then number 4 is 95 squared plus w squared equals 120 squared, and w equals 73.3 feet. Number 6 is 4 squared plus h squared equals 13 squared, and h equals 12.4 feet. I will come back to that one and work it for you in a minute. And number 8 is 12.6 feet, and I will come back to it and work it as part of your review as well. In lesson 5.7, the answers are number 2 is 6.7 units. Number 4 is 6.3. Number 6 is 2.8. Number 8 is 11.7. 10 is 6.5. 12 is 6.2. And 14 is 13 units. And I will work a couple of those in a second. At this point, let's look at lesson 5.5, and I told you that I would look at number 10 and 12 with you. Let's start with number 10. Number 10 says, determine whether each triangle with sides of the given length is a right triangle. And it tells you 7, 24, 25. To be a right triangle, it must meet Pythagorean theorem, which says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, in order for that to work, the longest side must be the hypotenuse. So what we need to know is, does 7 squared plus 24 squared equal 25 squared? Well, 7 squared is 49, and 24 squared is 576, and 25 squared is 625. Well, if you add 49 and 576, you get 625. So indeed, these are equal, so that verifies that it is a right triangle. Number 12 says a leg of a right triangle is 30 meters long, and the hypotenuse is 35 meters long. What is the length of the other leg? You probably did it to the nearest tenth, but I was looking at the book's answers. Yes, I cheated a little bit. And they just put 18, so we'll see what we get. This is a right triangle because they told us that. The legs, remember, are these two sides that form the right triangle. So one of the legs is 30 meters long. And it tells us that the hypotenuse is 35 meters long. And it wants to know the length of the other leg. So Pythagorean theorem says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So it doesn't matter which leg we make a, but let's make a be 30 squared. And let's make b be the x. And c is 35 squared. 30 squared is 900 plus x squared equals 1225. Subtract 900 from both sides. So then x squared equals 325. We don't need to know what the leg squared is. We need to know what the leg is. So we have to take the square root of both sides. And the square root of 325, which is x, is 18.02775. And all throughout this lesson, the instructions say to round to the nearest tenth. So if you look at the number to the right of the tenth place, it's a 2, so it's going away. So then our answer is 18.0. And all the book is saying with about is that's not exact, it's been rounded. Okay, for the lesson 5.6 examples, number 6 is our first one. And no, my picture will never look as good as theirs, but you'll get the drift. This is a house. And they want this to be the height, h. And they want the triangle to be, or the ladder to be 4 feet from the house. And then the ladder is leaned up against the house. And it tells us the ladder's 13 feet. My picture is not accurate because in the book, the ladder doesn't go all the way up the house, but for our purposes, we can get by with it. Because when you look at this, this is a right triangle. So if we come out here and draw the triangle, we have h for the height up the house, 4 for the distance from the ladder from the house, and 13 for the length of the ladder. So again, we're using Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we have 4 squared plus h squared equals 13 squared. 4 squared is 16 plus h squared. 13 squared is 169. So subtract 16 from both sides. So h squared equals 153. Take the square root of both sides, and the height that the ladder is up the house is 12.369, but we need to round to the nearest tenth, so that would be 12.4 feet. The other problem that I'd like to look at on this lesson is problem number 8, which has a circle, and you can't make fun of my artwork. I actually did surprisingly well for me. It says this is a distance d for the diameter of the circle. This is 18, and this is 22. And they show you that this is a right triangle by putting the little box in the corner. So Pythagorean theorem says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, based on what Ms. Martin's been telling me, I can make any side I want to be side A, as long as it's one of the two legs. So 18 squared plus, in this case, we're going to put d squared because that's the other leg we're looking for. And I know that this is the hypotenuse because it's opposite the right angle. So that would be 22 squared. Okay, 18 squared is 324 plus d squared, and 22 squared is 484. Now subtract 324 from both sides. So d squared equals 160. And we don't want the leg squared, we want just the leg. So we'll take the square root of both sides. So the length of that leg, d, is 12.649, which if we round to the nearest tenth would be 12.6 feet. Okay, the last lesson we need to look at is lesson 5.7, and I picked problem number 5 to do with you, which has -1, 7, and -3, -5. And it asks us to find the distance between those points. The first thing we need to do is label the points, x1, y1, x2, y2. And we need to remember the distance formula, which is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So now we're ready to plug those points in. We've got the square root, and x2 is -3 minus, because that's what the formula has, x1 is -1 plus y2 is -5 minus, because it's in the formula, y1 is 7. So then we've got the square root of -3 minus a -1. So that's -3 plus 1, which is a -2 squared, plus -5 minus 7 is -12 squared. You'll have to be sure that you use parentheses, or you can literally multiply -2 times -2, which is +4, and -12 times -12, which is +144. So then the distance is the square root of 148. But your book does not want you to leave it like that. They want you to actually put it in the calculator. So the square root of 148 in your calculator is 12.1655. And they tell you to round to the nearest tenth. Well, just to the right of that tenth is a 6. So that means our answer must be 12.2, and I believe it's units. Okay, and the other problem that I picked on that lesson was problem number 13, because I know that some of you are probably having difficulty with the graphing ones. So on number 13, it says to do the 2 points that are there. Well, R is at 2, -2. This is their R. You can double check me if you'd like to. S is at 7, 6. Okay? And they want you to imagine that there's a line segment between them. You can use the distance formula like we have, because it just says find the distance. But assuming that you're like most of the students I've had in the past, and that this triangle method of finding distance is easier for you. In the triangle method, you draw the right triangle that connects the segment, and you count the length of the sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So then we're still doing a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we'll have 6 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared, where c is actually our distance. 6 squared is 36, 8 squared is 64, and that's equal to our distance squared. So that's 100 equals equals our distance squared.